They were talking about doing something and they'd sit and talk about it and talk about it. And I said, Mom, what are they doing? Oh, they're just, what did they say? Cogitate. Just thinking. They're just planning it all out. And by the time they both got done with it, they all had it all planned out and knew exactly what they needed. And they would do it. You know? And I think Mr. West would do most of the work, because I don't think my daddy was really handy.
He was more of an architect and less than a construction manager.
He was handy.
Yeah, but except with his lawnmower. Because your dad, had to come and take care of his lawnmower every spring and make sure it runs so he could run his lawnmower.
All you gotta do every spring is
But he didn't know how to
clean
do
the
it.
points of the carburetor and the
He didn't work on his cars.
spark
He
plug.
took it down to the shop.
He could build things, but not not motors. If it had a motor, he didn't touch it.
It was
He did-
mechanical, but
He worked until
he's an old farmer. What do old farmers do? Whatever needs to be
what
done.
needs to be done. And he worked as a pipe fitter, a
Okay.
plumber. Anything with pipes, he would do. He could handle that. You know, but motors, he tried, but he really messed them up more than he had them. But when we had a problem with the pipes, he fixed it. He knew how to do that.
The memory I have of there is I remember showing up, and of course I was little,
Mm-hmm.
and Mike and Stuart and James, I don't remember James all the time, and Dad would have to go out there and you guys would cut and split wood.
Oh,
They went out and they took Sean, didn't you? They did.
Sean,
Sean was David's oldest boy.
Okay.
Sean,
he was, what, 10 or 11
yeah.
when we went out cut that. There'd been a fire out
Well, they came home.
towards Clover out there somewhere. And then
South of
Grandpa
town.
wanted some firewood. And he had a trailer. And I had the Suburban with a trailer on the Suburban. And Robert and Ted went with us. They both had chainsaws.
Stewart.
And Ted had a horse trailer. And we took that out and we filled Grandpa's trailer and the horse trailer and the back of Ted's truck with wood where all the cedar tree had burned. We came back in with probably 2 cords of wood. And of course after we got it in there, then we had to
cut it.
had to cut it and split it. But that was an all-day trip. We came back
They were
really
so
tired.
dirty. They were so dirty because the wood
Well, the fire's gone through there.
was black. You
You
know,
know, like a year before or a little more.
they were just covered, just black. And Mother said, "Go wash."
That's right. You couldn't go in the house. I remember they sent you to some other side place where you had to hose off and get.
Yeah,
We went and sent them up to the house, the washroom, the wash
that's
house.
well, we were tired. It was all day. We were all day. We whole load of a lot of wood. You know, two cords of wood is
That's
a
a lot.
big pile.
Anyway, they believe in teaching our kids to work.
Well, it didn't work there for me. Of course, I didn't work on that one.
No, you weren't very big. You were just a little boy.
Well, I don't think James went out there with us. Stuart did. And Sean
Stewart and
did.
Sean. And, yeah,
And Robert and Ted.
I don't think Michael was big enough. I don't think he went out.
And I don't remember if Michael did either. Sean was about 10 or 11.
Well, Sean was the oldest grandchild.
Yeah, and
No, the Dave's oldest
he
grandchild.
was typical about 11-year-old. It was really tough to get a day's work out of him.
Another thing that never changes.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it is, you know. That's the way kids are. My dad always told me that if you're doing a job and you have a boy, you have a boy. You have 2 boys, that's equal to half a boy. You have 3 boys, that's nothing at all. And that's,
Oh my goodness, that's a close game, 19 to 20.
that's soon 20 to 20.
There was so I remember you telling me a story about the one time, was it your uncle? The only time you heard your uncle laugh, Dad? Something about tipping over a trailer full of hay on yourself?
Oh, Uncle Rex.
Yeah. Your Uncle Rex was not married, and he lived with Grandma down there.
Yeah, he was kind of a cantankerous old people. A good guy. Good guy. Well, we were hauling hay, and Ted and I don't know, we were probably 12 and 14 or something like that. And we stacked our side of the hay wagon right up like this. And we worked really hard at keeping it that way, because Dad has told us that's how you stack hay. Well, Uncle Rex on the other side, and he stacked it like this. And as we were coming out of the field, it wasn't a ditch, it was just kind of a rise up onto the road, and it went up. Whole thing tipped over.
And back in his price.
And of course he was mad. He ranted and raved.
Uncle Rex was mad?
Yeah, he was mad because we tipped the thing over. What we had to do is pick it up, throw it back on the wagon. We threw it back on. It wasn't square on one side. No, we just threw it back on.
It wasn't neat.
Well, he'd never really dealt with kids, so he
You expect your dad
he'd
to
never,
go.
well, he'd never dealt with anybody really. He was,
Yeah.
and we'd haul that hay in and use the Jackson fork to stack it.
Okay, what's a Jackson Fort?
Jackson fork is a big old fork on the end of a derrick. The thing is
Comes down like
probably
this.
5 feet wide,
Hey,
and it's got a latch on it and a hinge. So the fork, when you break the hinge, the fork falls down, so the tines are straight down. We bring it down and we run it down into the hay, and then run the hinge over and latch it on. So that when it picked it up, the fork came up this way and hauled the hay, and then we haul it over onto the
wagon.
horse. The horse would pull the fork up, and when the fork would come up, the derrick would swing over where we were going to stack it. And then you pull the latch, the fork would fall down, and let the hay fall on the stack. And
if you,
some
They have one.
of the fun things that happened there. Ted was leading the horse, and he led the horse up one time. We dropped the hay, and then he was supposed to let the horse back. Well, the horse was standing on his foot, so he couldn't get the horse to move because he couldn't get away to pull the halter. And Uncle Rex was carrying on, back the thing up, and Ted, he couldn't. And then the one time I put the Jackson fork down in there, and I got it in too close to the end of the wagon. When he picked it up, he tried to pick up the whole wagon box, but Uncle was on us again. Yeah. He really had some experiences trying to teach us something. And then there was one time that he was on the stacking the hay, and I was on the wagon. I put it in, and he lifted it up, and the fork went around, and he would use his pitchfork to guide it where he wanted. And when he got it where he wanted, he'd holler, and I'd pull the handle and let the latch and let the thing drop. Well, it came around, and it wasn't where he wanted, so we swung farther, and it started to come back towards me. He got slack in the rope. He got back where he wanted, and he said, "Pull it now." Finally got it. Well, when I finally got it to drop, it dropped on top of him. We were 12 and 14, a
yep,
couple of stupid kids probably knew everything.
You were teaching Uncle Rex what 12 and 14-year-old kids did.
You know, and he was trying to teach us to haul hay.
What did they use the hay for? They had horses or?
He had cows. We had a couple of horses too.
Yeah, they have to have one of them.
They,
pull wagon.
well, they had a farm there, and they raised hay, and they raised beets, and they raised wheat, but they had those. I think he had four or five cows out there, and every Friday the truck would come around from the creamery and pick up their cream, and he'd have, oh, I don't know, probably 10 gallons or so of cream
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the week, and that was their pin money, their day-to-day income.
Okay.
And they fed most of the milk to the pigs.
Really?
Yep. Pigs and the calves.
Mm-hmm.
And kept, you know, whatever cream she needed. They used a lot of cream, but made her own butter. And you know, we got to churn a pound or pound and a half of butter about once a week.
That's a lot of work.
She had one of those old, you know, it held probably a gallon or a little more of cream. And
Had paddles in it too.
had little paddles in it. You know, I don't know. You know, to an early teenager, it seemed like we were there all night, but it probably took 20 minutes.
Yeah. All night.
But you know, and then once you get it, all the cream or all of the butter out of the cream, then you drain off the buttermilk, and then she had a little paddle and a bowl that she squeezed the extra milk out of then take her another 15 or 20 minutes to squeeze all the buttermilk out of the butter.
Mm-hmm.
and salt it up, and of course that's where I learned to drink buttermilk. And I'm telling you, you cannot buy buttermilk. This crap they sell down here is cultured buttermilk. It is not buttermilk. I don't know what it is. It's
Cultured buttermilk.
yeah, it ain't buttermilk. It's cultured, all right, but it is not buttermilk. And well, they doctored up to make it sweet and taste good. And honest to goodness, buttermilk isn't really sweet. It isn't sour, but it's not sweet either.
It's kind of like 2% milk.
I remember making it. I remember we brought that jug over, a little mason jar,
Yeah.
and we were passing it around your grandkids. And I remember drinking what we didn't get out of that, and that, you're right, cultured buttermilk's kind of nasty compared to that.
Oh, it's awful. You can't even buy it. You know, really good buttermilk isn't even available. You know, you want to buy a cup of it for $1 million? Doesn't matter. It's not there.
By the way, when we watch this, you go find me. I'll get you a cup of that type of buttermilk for $1 million.
But
I may be shaking a gallon jug in my backyard, but
yeah, and you can make butter in just a few minutes. You get you a quart fruit jar, fill it about 2/3 full of warm cream, and just shake it, and you'll get butter.
Mhm.
And it takes about 20 minutes.
pass it around your grandchildren. That's enjoyable.
Yeah. We can really calm down a little ones, you know. Yeah, some of those back then.
Yeah, how about that?
Yeah, my uncle had that beat up old Chevrolet pickup, and I don't know what it was, a 41 or something like that he drove around. And to my knowledge, he never got the thing in high gear. It didn't matter where we were going, he'd get it into second gear and just putter along.
Your dad didn't do that.
10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour, didn't matter where we were going. And when he got home, he didn't push the clutch, he didn't push the brake, he just turned the ignition switch off and got out.
So, how often were you gnawing on the door frame or whatever as he was driving
Oh,
down the road?
well, I wasn't very old. It was, you know, it was a little frustrating to go that slow, but
That's just the way Uncle Rex was. He
that's
just had to
the
go
way it
with
was.
it.
Well, he was an old farmer. And old farmers, they don't really get excited. You know, we do this job and we'll go get it done. And, oh, if we don't get it done today, well, we'll do it tomorrow.
Come on.
Yeah. So.
Yeah,
Oh, well, since we're on it, and I've got 13 minutes left, tell us about living in the one-bedroom house and the rats. It's obviously my sister wants to hear. She's got to know the story. 'Cause-
Stacy?
well, you know,
Huh?
that was 60 years ago that we left there.
Yeah.
So that would be 1955.
60 years ago, we left there.
Left
Yeah.
this little one-bedroom house.
Yeah. It actually had a kitchen and a living room and a bedroom and
Little shit.
kind of a,
Lean to.
yeah, a lean-to porch. I don't know what you'd call it, the room back there. And the girls were sleeping in the bedroom. And while we were living there is when the twins were born. So Bonnie and Joan were sleeping in the bedroom. Mom and Dad were sleeping in the front room on a fold-away bed, and the boys slept in the back room. And then we had rats there. And I had a rat chewing on my chin one night. Well, I didn't know what the deal was. It just, you know, kind of bothered me. And, you know, and I'd get up in the morning, my chin was bleeding. And at the time that things really had to happen, I got bit on the forearm, and that was serious. That got me up in the middle of the night, and it was really bleeding right on the side of my arm there. And that's when we decided that nobody would sleep out there anymore. So then the girls moved into the front room with Mom and Dad. The boys got the bedroom. Robert and Ted and I, we all slept in the same bed.
No fights over who got to sleep where in the bed.
Well, I slept on the outside. There was no fight.
It was just the oldest one, you know.
Well, and you know, we didn't have indoor plumbing there. We did have a spigot out behind the house, so we hauled water inside in a bucket, and we had a little dipper there, and that was our drinking water. And in the need of nocturnal excursions, we had a coffee can underneath the corner of the bed.
A chamber pot.
Yeah, got 4 minutes chamber pot.
That was a coffee can. It wasn't a chamber pot. It was a coffee can.
Of sorts, I said.
Well, you know, I don't know what more they want to hear. That was the tale. We lived there until I was 12 years old. In fact, I became a deacon while we were living there, and while I was 12 years old, we moved up on Durfee Street.
That's where they were living when I got them.
And we didn't, well, we kind of had indoor plumbing there. We had one cold water pipe that came in over the sink. That was the improvement. Well, it was a much bigger house.
Yeah.
It had, when we moved in, it had 2 bedrooms, front room and a kitchen. And there was 2 rooms on the south side of the house that were sealed off because the lady that had lived there had died, and the family had put all of her things back in these 2 back rooms. And as we lived there, they would come and move the stuff out, and we got to moving those 2. And I got the little bitty one back in the corner. I got that one, and Robert and Ted got the other one. And the girls slept in the 1 bedroom off the side there. Mom and Dad had the bedroom in the front, the biggest one.
That's where you were living when Steve was born.
Yes. We were living there with Steve in the front.
Who got to sleep with Steve?
And well,
they put him in, Mom and Dad.
it
They had to
wasn't-
take care of him.
See, Steve was born in '58, and we moved from there. Where did we move from there?
Probably about 60.
Probably 1960.
Because we got married in
59 or
62.
60, 59 or 60, we moved from there down on the Clark Street, down in
Yeah.
J. Reuben Clark's place.
That's,
And we really did have indoor plumbing there.
yeah.
We had a
Flush
bathroom,
toilets and everything,
had a
huh?
bathroom with a bathtub and a toilet, and I mean that
Hot
was
water heater.
hot water. Yeah, had a hot water heater. Oh, that was uptown. That was uptown.
That,
So go ahead.
when I first time I got to know him, they were living on Durfee Street. And I was astonished that they didn't have indoor plumbing. I could not believe that. That just, it was things that they had in the 40s or 30s, you know, not in the 60s or 50s, 59 or so. And I went down there once or twice as well before you moved.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it was
and
rustic.
That's the polite term.
Yeah, I think they torn it down. It's not even there now
Yeah, it's
anymore.
long gone.
Yeah, it is.
Nobody lived in the. We had a habit of doing that. We left that house on Center Street. Nobody ever lived in there again. We moved in up to Durfee Street. We moved out of there. Nobody ever lived in that again.
So this is just plain old poverty.
I
Pretty
guess.
much.
I guess.
And you don't. She probably didn't feel like it was poverty, but looking back on it, they had to be really careful.
Well,
It's hard to
my
find.
dad was working. He moved up there. He moved up there in 1949. Got a job for $1 an hour, and man, that was big wages.
Mm-hmm.
That was big wages. He hated it. He wanted to be a farmer.
You wanted to be a farmer. But he
He
never
worked
went
there
back.
for 19 years, and he hated every single minute of it.
Where was he working?
Well, Army Depot.
Okay. So was he an actual military or was he a civilian?
He never joined the military. He was a civilian. He was working as an auto mechanic.
Mm-hmm. He just never got back to the land. Huh?
Nope. He wanted to be a farmer. That's all he ever really wanted to
That's
do.
why they moved out to Fairfield.
But he just couldn't get away from that $1 an hour job.
And it became more
And,
than a dollar.
and you know, I was talking with my Uncle Oral one time, telling that Dad moved up there for $1 an hour and he hated the job, and Uncle Oral says, yeah, but it was probably the best move he ever made. And probably it was. You know, with a big family, it takes a lot to keep them going. And Dad always maintained that he didn't raise a family. He just earned some money, gave the check to Mom, she raised the family. And there was some
I
truth to
think
that.
there's some truth to that.
I think there was some truth to that. Well, my dad didn't have many serious vices. Well, he smoked. Drove Mom crazy.
Yep.
She talked a lot about how much money they spent on tobacco.
Cigarettes.
But-
He met Rose on.
But other than that, the only thing he did that wasn't really took care for the family was he liked to hunt. And he made it a point to hunt deer every fall. He loved hunting deer. He made it a point to go hunting deer every fall. And he would squirrel away a little money of his own so he could go hunt deer. And and some of the best memories I have of Dad was when we were out hunting. That and playing baseball. We played baseball as kids and he would never get involved. He wouldn't coach, he wouldn't be in part of the organization, he wouldn't do any of that, but he played ball with us out in the backyard.
There's a lot to be said for just doing that.
Played ball with us all the time. When we had games, he was there. When we had practices, he was there.
Well, they asked him to coach.
No, he didn't want to coach, he didn't want anything to do with the organization, but he was willing to
Oh, he
help his
was gonna-
kids.
Was he kind of like an iconoclast type thing where he's just like, I don't want to be part of organizations, I am me?
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. I don't remember it that way, but I do know that as I was growing up, when I was a baby, I was taken to church and was blessed and named.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Mom's fault.
Probably.
When I turned 8, I was baptized,
Probably Mom's fault.
went to church and was confirmed in sacrament meeting. Probably Mom's fault.
Yeah.
When I was 11 years old, I got involved in scouting, and he was extremely supportive of scouting and the church. Of course, that was Guide Patrol, which was part of the primary, and our Guide Patrol teacher was Sister Gilwalker. What was his? I can't remember her first name. Absolutely a marvelous lady. And of course, part of the Guide Patrol was getting us to church, and I went to church. I was ordained a deacon. Dad wasn't there for that, but he's supportive. And there were lots of times, in fact, that he would tell us that if we'd get up and go to church, he'd take us hunting rabbits in the afternoon. And a lot of Sundays we did that. A lot of Sundays we did that. I had a beat up old Chevrolet pickup. I think it was a 35, 34, 35s, before they had hydraulic brakes. But he built put board sides on the bed equal with the top. And we'd get in the back there, and he'd drive out through the sagebrush, and we'd shoot rabbits out of the back of that truck.
Did you go gather them after you shot it?
Of course.
Okay.
We weren't supposed to eat jackrabbits, but we ate them.
Why are you not supposed to eat jackrabbits?
Supposedly they're flush with tularemia. I don't know. We ate a lot of jackrabbits.
Cook them good.
We're the only persons I ever knew that ate jackrabbits. Most of them shoot them and let them lay because they're
Contaminated.
Jews and pigs. They're unclean. But we did. He would do that just to get us to go to church. He wanted us to go to church. He wasn't
But he
involved.
didn't want to go.
He wasn't involved, and that was that. But he wanted us to go, and he encouraged it. And